Hey, this is your host, Toshiba Davis. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, a published author, and I like to call myself a cultivator of communication and insight initiator. Welcome to the From Stress to Rest podcast, where we will talk about various stressors in life that at some point we all have experienced, such as anxiety, fear, business failure, relationship challenges. But ultimately, we will identify what peace is in the midst of those experiences and how to maintain peace with practical steps, with encouragement and insightfulness on living this thing called life. Welcome to From Stress to Rest. Hey, everybody. Welcome to From Stress to Rest podcast. We are now on episode 4. Thank you for those of you returning and welcome to my new listeners. The topic for the month of February has been breakthrough. Sometimes we feel we're going through a breakdown, but if we continue to move forward, make the right decisions, work on ourselves in our inward self, we will get to that breakthrough instead of a breakdown. So I am here with my dear friend, Miss Dawn P. Hi, Dawn.
Hello, Toshiba.
Thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely.
Everyone, Dawn is a dear friend of mine. We used to praise dance. Her and her husband started selling DVDs.
Yes, instructional dance videos, and you can find Toshiba and me on those videos.
Yes, so definitely we have a long history, and she was so kind to just share her testimony of, again, when you feel like you're going through a breakdown instead of a breakthrough. Mm-hmm. And just dear friends, listen, and I pray that you will definitely be blessed by her testimony. And so, Dawn, I'll let you go ahead and start with, just tell me about a time you felt like, okay, I'm actually breaking down. This space in my life is not what I was expecting, but you finally moved through that.
Okay. Well, the second year of our marriage, we began the year and I found out that I was pregnant. It was my first pregnancy. I was so excited. And it was all brand new experiences in my body and my feelings and all this. And I have to say that I was even more excited because we were not supposed to be able to have a baby. My husband, the year before we met, had stage 4 cancer. And he had cancer in his lungs and his lymph nodes. He had it in his liver. He had it in his blood. It caused blood clots that lodged in his heart. He had to have open heart surgery. He had to have chemo that was so intense that he was getting about a gallon a day of chemotherapy for 5 days straight, and then he would be off for 2 weeks for his white blood cells to come back up. But it was a miracle. The doctor said either you're going to die of the cancer or the chemo, and he didn't die of either. However, it ended with a sperm count of 0.
Wow.
So the doctors had informed him that, he wouldn't be able to father any children. So needless to say, this was even more exciting that here we are finding ourselves pregnant.
Yeah.
And it was short. It was very short-lived. I lost the baby, our son, and it was devastating. I thought, why is my body rejecting my children? What's wrong with me? I was hurt because I thought this was a testimony I had of a miracle. We were going to have a miracle baby.
Yeah.
And we lost it. And I was, you're thinking, I can provide hope for women and families who couldn't have babies and say, look, you can have a miracle baby.
Right.
And I lost that. And it hurt. It was devastating. I had thoughts that I had never entertained before, thoughts of it'd be easier just to sink under the bathtub water.
Wow. Yeah.
And, join my son up in heaven. And there were times when I would just curl up in the fetal position and sob, and I didn't know what was going on through my mind. There were wild thoughts that I could not control. I remember reading things that I wrote at that time. I didn't even recognize the handwriting. It was just this scrawling, and it was just a pain. It was a constant pain. And I didn't understand why all this was happening. However, on the flip side, there was the joy of knowing, but wait a second, I had been pregnant.
Right.
And so that was in January. About mid-May, I found out I was pregnant again.
Got it. Okay.
So
some excitement there.
Some excitement. Very excited at that time. It's like, God hadn't forgotten us.
Yeah.
We had, we were pregnant, and this was it was so exciting. It was around my birthday. And everyone was rejoicing with us, knowing that I'd had lost the first baby. And a lot of my birthday gifts were baby gifts and pregnant, maternity wear and things like that. And everyone was so excited. And shortly after my birthday, I began spotting. And thereafter, I lost her. I lost our little girl. And it was so hard. It was devastating on me.
Would you feel, Dawn, that it was more devastating the second time around than the first, or just equally?
It was equally.
Okay.
Again, not understanding why. What's going on with my body that it's rejecting our children? Why would God give us this gift and then seemingly take it away?
Yeah.
Why is this happening? So many whys. And about a month after losing the baby, I was sitting alone in home. We were scheduled to teach at a worship conference. And so I was just going through notes, going through the scriptures, preparing to teach. And I came across, of course, Psalm 30, where it says, "You've turned my mourning into dancing, and you exchanged my sackcloth of mourning for garments of joy and praise."
Yes.
And I was really honest with God. And I said, "No, you have not. Did you want me to teach this? I have to be honest when I teach, and I can't teach this."
Wow. Yeah.
Because I'm still mourning. I'm still wearing sackcloth. I have no joy. There is nothing there. And if you want me to teach this, then God, you need to make this real to me. And so I just began to actually, at that moment in my living room, cry out to God and turn my sorrow and my cries into thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And I started just saying, and singing songs of thanksgiving. We're giving thanks. I give thanks to you, God, because you are worth it. You're just worth it. And as I was doing that and sobbing my eyes out, all of a sudden the atmosphere in our living room changed. I can say this, I've really never experienced this before. It was definitely a God moment. But the atmosphere changed. I started to hear music. I opened my eyes, and the best way I can put it is, it was like looking at a double exposed picture. I saw our living room, but I also saw the throne room of God exposed over it. And Jesus was standing there with a little girl that I knew was my daughter. And he said, she was just, as little girls do, dancing around.
Oh, cute.
And right there in the throne room of God, and Jesus said, dance with your daughter.
Wow.
And at that moment, I got to dance with her. I got to experience being the mom, dancing with my little girl. And we whirled and we bowed, and I touched her and I held her, and she smiled at it. It was amazing. And I can say at that moment, he turned my mourning into dancing. My sackcloth was removed, and I was filled with complete joy. It was in an instant.
Wow.
And in that moment, I had a face-to-face experience with Jesus, and I'll never be the same. It was a breakthrough moment for me. I was healed. That heavy sorrow left me. I had hope. I had joy. I didn't have an answer. I didn't know why.
God allowed that.
I still didn't know. What was the purpose behind it. However, I did find out later on that I had low thyroid. And so my body temperature was not in the 90s. It was more in the high 80s. And so I could not incubate the babies.
Okay.
So
when did you find that out? After the second?
Yeah, after the second one. I actually went while I was there teaching at the worship conference. It happened to be in my hometown. So I went to my doctor that I grew up going to, and he knew my family history.
Okay.
And knowing that low thyroid ran in our family, he said, we should check you at this. And he checked me, and sure enough,
wow,
that was an issue. So I started taking thyroid supplements, and things got to where it should be. And another couple years passed, and we still weren't having children. So my husband and I decided to take some tests to see, where the problem was. And I went in. It was I remember it was a cold, snowy March, and went into our doctor. To my doctor, and my doctor said, okay, your body is great now. You can carry a child. It's great. Unfortunately, though, your husband has about 1 million sperm count. His count is about 1 million.
Yeah.
And he said, you need about 90 to 100 million, to count it as fertility. Fertile. And so we went through, he started going through options like, adopt, which is wonderful, but I know that God had promised us a child. He had spoken to us literally the first year we were married. We'd had some prophetic words from different people that didn't even know us that spoke about our children. And so we were waiting for those children. And so he said, you can carry the child, but you can't carry his child. He doesn't have enough sperm count. So, we can look for a sperm donor. We can look for this and that. And I said, no. I actually said, about Sarah and Abraham, God told them that they were going to have a child, and Sarah got a donor.
Yeah.
And we've had trouble ever since. So I said, no, that's not what I'm going to do. So I walked out of that office, and I remember looking up into the sky and with the snow falling down towards me. And I just said, God, there's nothing I can do. The ball is in your court. So I need you to be faithful. And I said, if there's one thing I know about your character is that you are faithful. So be true to your character and show your faithfulness to us. the next month I was pregnant with our daughter, Jean.
You said, Lord, we have to have a come to Jesus meeting.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, yes, it was, and it was this resolute thing inside of me that said, I can't do anything. Only you can.
Yeah.
And you have to be faithful to who you are. Your character says faithfulness. You have promised this, so be faithful. Show yourself faithful. So I was pregnant with Jean. Of course, at that time, we didn't know she was going to be a little girl. We had a lot of things. They tested and thought that she was going to be handicapped and tried to get us to abort. And we said no.
Right.
But until the week before her ultrasound, when we found out she was a girl, for some reason we were just like, oh, it's going to be a boy. It's going to be a boy. That week I had 2 dreams that I was introducing my little baby, Jean Marie, to people. And so when we found out she was going to be a girl, I said to my husband, what do you think about the name Jean Marie? He said, well, let's find out what it means. It means God's gracious gift, a sweet fragrance. And sure enough, she was God's gracious gift. She is amazing. She's an amazing young woman now. 3 years later, found out I was pregnant with our son, Joseph. Everything went fine. Everything went smooth. He's amazing. So I have 2 incredible gifts from God that are miracle babies here on earth, and I have 2 in heaven. One thing, though, I need to share about our daughter that danced with me. Her name is Susan Renata. And in 2011, God told me when I was going to minister in South Africa that he wanted me to dance my testimony. And I knew exactly what testimony it was. It was this testimony about how he took me from that breakdown to a breakthrough. And so we choreographed the piece. My husband is a musician. He played the music behind, and I narrated over it, and we recorded the story. And then I danced the story, and we took it to South Africa, and we watched an amazing healing that happened in people there who had lost children, who had had children murdered, who had had abortions, miscarriages, all this. People were healed, men and women, people who had their children had died as infants, or even I had a woman whose 30-year-old daughter had been murdered. And every single one of them said, Jesus healed me when I watched how he healed you. Jesus healed me. He signed that story in my book and turned the page. And I was so blessed, and I came back from South Africa and went and ministered in Tennessee it was a weekend of families who had had miscarriages and had lost children and things like that. And my daughter, Jean, went and was a part of it. And during that time, we wrote letters. We asked God to show us more about the children that we had lost so they could be more a part of our family. And it's so interesting because Jean said, Mom, I've seen Susan. I've seen my brother and sister.
Wow.
And we agreed. We both knew that Susan was our dancer. That whenever I go and minister someplace, that she is ministering in the heavens on my behalf while I'm ministering here. That she dances with me. That she has that the missions heart too. So there's that all has healed me because I know who my children are. And do I need to know the why? I don't need to know the why. However, I do know that God took these ashes and he made them beautiful. These ashes that and sackcloth that I was wearing, he turned them into something that was beautiful, that has healed families all over the world.
Wow.
And it's a joy now. It's not something that it's a sorrow on me anymore. It's a joy to share my testimony of what the Lord has done and the breakthrough that we've had.
Whoo, that's an amazing testimony, Dawn. Thank you for sharing that. And I know that whoever is going to be listening and whoever's listening now, will be blessed by that, whether you've experienced something with that magnitude or not. Just knowing how anything devastating, where it can take us mentally, emotionally. But yes, that breakthrough, because you're on the other side.
Yes.
You're definitely on the other side. So obviously I know your relationship with God, even in the midst of that mourning, still staying connected to him, got you through that breakthrough, would you say?
Absolutely. If I didn't have that relationship, I don't know if I would have had a breakthrough.
Yeah. Wow, that's definitely an empowering and encouraging story, Dawn. So what would be your encouragement that you could share with others, just whether it be something they've experienced that or just in anything when it comes to breaking down, still trying to claw your way through that breakthrough?
That you're not alone. Absolutely, that you're not alone. I think that isolated feeling, I'm alone, no one else is understanding this, no one else is going through this.
Right.
I think that is one of the worst things that can happen. And I think that people are experiencing that now throughout this time of isolation, that that loneliness is a killer.
Yeah.
And you can put in recordings in your mind that play over and over again that are not true.
Yes.
And those recordings are lies that will destroy you. And so you need to be in relationship with people, with God, with those that can lift you up and hold you close and take that recording out and replace it with healing, with words of truth, with words of love, with words of encouragement, people who will listen to you, people who will let you cry with them, people who will let you be you, and yet when you're with them, you're a better you when you're done.
I like that.
And so that is, I think, immensely important. Again, that relationship with God and knowing that no matter what, He's love. And He loves you. He hurts when you hurt. He takes no joy, no pleasure in your pain. He doesn't. He's not a God who punishes. He's not a God who sends afflictions and things. He's a God who loves and has given it all for you to be healed, to receive love. And He doesn't, even though we do have to walk through life, that's life. Even though we walk through life, we will, even though we walk through life, it's going to be hard, but we have God with us, walking with us, and saying, I won't leave you. So,
wow, Dawn, I appreciate you sharing that. That's some really good stuff right there. That's some really, really good stuff, especially that encouragement. I think a lot of people need to hear that. A lot of people need to hear that to remind us that God does love us. So, again, everyone, friends, I appreciate you coming along this particular journey with myself and my friend Dawn, again, on breakthrough. Again, we all have those days where we feel like we're breaking down, but continue to press, um, stay connected to God, and you definitely will get to the other side. As I like to end, friends, I like to end, as you know, with a prayer, and it reads, Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for what you are doing in me. Help me to see this process from your perspective. I thank you for developing me into who you have ordained me to be. I'm looking forward to fulfilling my purpose, for I am loved, called, and chosen. So, again, thank you, friends. Please find your peace and joy in the midst of that stress, and definitely we'll talk soon. All right, thank you.